the way, a real great guest we got coming on the show tomorrow. I love this guy. He's awesome. One of my favorite movies he was in, by the way, Coming to America. We've got Coming to America 2 coming up. Going to be out in the theater soon. That is a movie I will not miss, even though I'm sure they're going to ruin it like they ruin all sequels. But Louie Anderson, the great Louie Anderson, will be joining us on the show tomorrow. He actually has appeared in Coming to America 2, so we'll ask him about that. What a great career he's had in comedy.
A great career. And you told me a story yesterday on the drive home from Laughlin that I never knew. And maybe we won't spoil it for people.
I can tell people that story.
But
we got a minute here.
Yeah, you went to a Louie Anderson show here when he did a residency at the Luxor.
Very funny story. So he had a residency. He had a residency in a few different places. So I'd seen Louie before. He's a great guy. He's really, really funny and just a good dude. So I'm watching him at the Luxor. We're about 10 rows back, me and my buddy. And I think to myself, to my friend, I say, let's do something funny for this guy. Let's get him a dozen of Krispy Kreme donuts. There was this Krispy Kreme donut store right near where he was performing. So we buy these donuts, and I say, I'm going to get up there and show some balls, and I'm just going to hand it to him right at the start of the show. What is a security guard going to stop me? So he gets on stage, and literally 5 seconds in before he even says hello to the crowd, he looks at me, and I walk right up to him, and I hand him these donuts, and he goes, oh, thank you. That's very nice of you. That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then he looks at me, and he goes, you know, some famous people, they get panties thrown at them. I get donuts. And the best part about it was he starts 2 minutes into the stand-up. He cracks a couple quick jokes. And then he's like, you son of a bitches. That's what he called me. He called me son of a... You knew that I couldn't go an entire hour and a half and do stand-up without eating those donuts. You knew it. And he goes right back to the donut box. He grabs one and he starts eating it. He starts eating it while he's telling jokes. He goes... you could hear him getting fatter, you know, as he's eating these donuts. He went through like 3 or 4 of them, and it was really funny. It was a good
great.
time.
He's great. A lot of his stand-up revolves around his weight problem. And so he has a great self-deprecating sense of humor with that. But how many donuts did he eat throughout the
Went through 4, I
About
think.
4 donuts?
And then,
they are addictive.
And then he said he wanted to meet us after the show. So we met him after the show, me and my friend Al. We met him after the show. I always remember this. And he had the box in his hand, and he goes, you guys want one? And then he says to me after the show, he says, you guys could have got me sticks of butter, and I would have started eating those too. Just really funny. You know, being in Vegas as long as I have been here, you meet a lot of famous people with the business that I do, and I think that was a great story. But I think as far as celebrities go, I think my favorite story was meeting Don Rickles. I met him not that long ago, 6 months before he passed away. I watched him do a show at the Orleans, and luckily the person that I was with was friends with Don Rickles' manager, who also happens to be the manager for the late, great Frank Sinatra. So he got us backstage at the Orleans before the show. And I always remember walking in. I was a little intimidated because, come on, man, it's Don Rickles. It's a legend. At the time, a living legend. He'll always be a legend. And so I see him there. He's sitting down in his suit. And he's just sitting there relaxing. And this is only about 30 minutes before showtime. I mean, a lot of these people, they don't like to be bothered before a show. Here's this man, what was he? He was in his 90s, right? And he sits down, and I'll tell the story real quickly, and then we'll move on. Having a nice conversation with him, and he's very friendly and very sharp and very funny. And he goes, Brian, what's your last name? And I go, oh, my last name's Shapiro. And he goes, so you're a Jew? Sit next to me. Let's have some fun. Sit down next to me. Like, just a really funny, because, you know, Don being Jewish, really funny sense of humor. And I'm sitting down with him, and I'm telling him, you know, one of my favorite movies of all time is Casino. He obviously played a good role in that movie. And I'm just talking about his career, and he's asking me a lot of questions about Vegas. So then I'm sitting down in my seat, and you know, I got a picture with him, and it'll be a picture I'll cherish, you know, for my entire life. And I sit down in the seat at the Orleans, and right in the middle of the show, he starts rolling out a couple of names of people that are in the audience. And it just so happened that Terry Fader, who's been on our show before, super nice guy, very talented, who sticks his hands up fake puppets' butts, and he's a very good ventriloquist, probably one of the best in the world, by the way, and like I said, a really nice guy. He was there. So Don Rickles says, I want to thank Terry Fator for coming here. He's a ventriloquist. Terry, thanks for being here. And then he goes, I want to thank a local radio host here in town, really funny guy. We had a great conversation backstage. Brian Shapiro, stand up. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody knows who the hell I am. You know, I'm a nobody. And here's a guy who is one of the funniest comics and one of the most legendary comedians, not just of my lifetime, but in the last 100 years, you know. And here he took the time to mention my name and to do something like that. And that just meant the world to me. And I'll always remember those few moments that I had with Don Rickles. That was a lot of fun. But, hey, you know what? You live in Vegas. You work in radio. You get to do some pretty cool things and meet some really cool people. But that was certainly one of the top highlights for me. I think the other highlight, real quickly, was meeting Muhammad Ali and his family. I met Muhammad Ali at MGM Grand. This was for his 70th birthday. They had this big celebration, and he was obviously not doing very well at the age of 70, but I was able to still give him a fist pump. And I said, thank you for all you've done. And he kind of gave me a head nod, and I met his wonderful family. That was another special moment. There's a lot of moments that I've had in 20 years in Vegas, but those certainly rank up there.